Hey everyone, welcome to This is Corner, and today we're gonna look at the Soul Master product, the starter deck for Keshi Savageclaw. We'll be discussing a little bit of the strategy of playing the deck and what do you get when you buy a starter deck. So let's start off with opening our starter deck. It already is sleeved, so don't worry about it. And you'll see that you'll get your traditional all-in-one guy with stickers and everything about learning how to play. All the cards which are properly identified with a back coloring, so I did sleeve it up with our transparent sleeve so you can see it, and our health chip. So the game does come with the idea that your health is represented with chips instead of the traditional dice and things like that, so that way it allows you to push forward. And of course we have our playmat for being staff member and everything like that, so you can see how to play the game. So let's start off getting everything ready. Our red cards here, you can see, is our commander. So we are starting off with Keshi Savageclaw and her two evolutions. This will allow us to be able to have a full game from the get-go, but the fun part is that not all commanders are equal, such a thing as Lamia, which we'll see in a future video. Then we'll see our orange cards, which are our reserve deck. This is placed face down here at the reserve side. And in the starter deck we'll only have 5, but for competitive play you will have a total of 8 cards, meaning you'll have 2 of each card per se, but no repeats, so that means 2 weapons, 2 armors, 2 feats, and 2 battlefields to be able to help you out in the game. Next off we have our resources, which is identified with our commander, that in total of 6 in the red hexagon, and we have 6 here. So this can go face up. And there's a lot of options in the terms of resources, so you will always have different options to play. And the rest of our deck, which is all identified with the back coloring with the black color. So let's start off. So Keshi, in the main way, is a type of aggro deck. So you will be playing cards that will help you out, try to defeat your opponent quickly. So we do have our cores to help us pay for the cards, and we'll have some basic units such as this that are like the Whirlwind Guard, which are just vanilla units, which have high stats in terms of attack and health. But then we have some utility cards like Ulfric, which will allow us to be able to KO and kill our enemy units and then pay one of the resources to draw a card. We'll follow through with that. We also have our first mercenary in the game, which is called Sakura. She is a 1-cost unit which has haste and allows you to try to deal that extra point of damage you're missing, because a lot of the cards in Keshi's deck either have haste or they will be built around with haste to be able to burst down your opponent. The key card with haste that we have in our deck would be none other than Alex. So Alex does have haste. When he attacks, you can consume 2 of your rages and be able to buff all your units that are currently on the field that are Crimson Shadow units, so Sakura sadly does not get the benefit, and they'll be able to deal more damage. So this is pretty much the whole idea of Keshi, that you'll be playing a lot of units and get your big Alex on the field, attack with her, generate your resources, and once you have everything ready, you attack with Alex, consume 2 resources, in this case 2 rages, buff everybody up, then we'll swing, and it'll be just enough damage to be able to take out all the 10 health from the base version and then evolve to the next version and force our commander to play. Clearly, the problem that we do have with Keshi is that it is a aggro deck. So going aggro, that means you're gonna lose a lot of the cards because you're gonna be almost playing every single card to buff up and be able to pull through, such as Snipe, such as Maul, and things like that. But even though you're doing big damage, you can take a little bit more time and be able to play a bit more defensively with cards that technically are vanilla, like they don't have anything else instead, they don't have any text. They'll allow you to be able to defend properly with 2 shields, because as you can see, the more wording the card has, it has lower shielding value, and that doesn't protect you from the damage. So you're probably gonna be swinging all in, take the damage back, and eventually you're gonna evolve and you're gonna be transforming into a stronger version of your commander. But we gotta make sure we have that card draw. How can we solve this? Well, using our starter deck, we'll be using the Shadow Temple. It does enter rested, so that means it enters sideways, and it can be activated in the same turn you play it. How? When you KO a enemy unit, the card will be ready. And now you can rest it, draw 2 cards, and then discard 2 cards unless you discard a Crimson Shadow unit. So it is a great tool to be able to dig out those cards that you need in your deck, but you gotta make sure that if you build the deck, it has more Crimson Shadow units. This is just a starter deck, so all the cards except the Sakura that we saw will be Crimson Shadow. But don't forget that we already have Awakenings out, so we do have 1 booster box that adds more into the deck, and then we'll have more sets 2 coming through, like Outland set and set 2 coming soon, so that will allow you to extend your gameplay style with Keshi. That's pretty much all that you get from the starter deck, but don't forget that since there are a lot of cards, you can mix and match them to make sure you actually play it out a little bit stronger and be able to build a full-on Keshi burst you down in 1 single turn and defeat your opponent completely. But you can also play a little bit more defensively, a little bit slower, and try to bait out your opponent's game. So this is pretty much what the starter deck will offer you, or how you want to start playing this starter deck for now. And then we'll look at other decks that people have been building in the community, so that way we know what you can play as in the defensive options and things like that. Thank you very much for passing by. See you next time.